intrigued with Edwin. Chris, those were his feelings. And hopefully he gets some help for that.
Okay. Come back in here. To do what? No, my boyfriend meeting me in Atlanta, so.
But hey guys, and welcome back to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. We're breaking down again another one of Nyya and Edwin, and just talking about her Russia's madness exit. Why would Edwin want to date Nyya after seeing her cuss him out?
I was never intrigued with Edwin. Chris, those were his feelings. And hopefully he gets some help for that.
Okay. Come back in.
Guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. And for those of you who are returning as well, you got the minerals, you got the minerals. All right, cool. Let's get into the video to talk about it. The Edwin and Nyya situation. Obviously, we spoke a little bit about KG and Nyya. I wanted to dedicate a separate video to Edwin and Nyya because we got to hear that after the show, Edwin had pursued, or at least had got on with Nyya, and they had dated some while after the show.
What's going on with you and Miss Nyya?
We connected at the very start of this journey.
And my question that came to my mind, I guess a lot of us came to mind as well, is why would Edwin start dating Nyya? Like, what was he seeing that we weren't seeing? And what was he seeing that we weren't seeing? And so it's interesting. I want to break down some stuff. When you watch the video where they're reacting to the video that's shown of Nyya exiting the process, watch Edwin's facial expression as he watches, right? He's not impressed.
Some of the men just aren't ready to be what I need in my life.
Right? Even though he's dated Nyya and apparently had this conversation, when he's watching it back, he's not impressed. Look at his facial expression. He's not okay, right? So again, I'm going to talk about this word, compliance. And so people outwardly can conform, but inwardly do not agree. But due to the outward compliance, they don't say anything. They withhold their sentiment and how they actually feel. And I think that's what's happened with Edwin and Nyya. And that's what I believe also causes issues in relationships. When there is a partner that is willing to always conform and have a different opinion, eventually it comes to a point where your opinion comes out. Because you're not true to form. You're not true to yourself. If you're in a relationship, and this is where it's similar enough to what a people pleaser is, when they don't want to express how they truly feel, even though inwardly they are disagreeing, but outwardly they're showing you they're with you. That's not the kind of situation you want in a relationship. You want that person to be able to be free and open, to be able to express how they actually feel, not hold it in and say, yeah, I'm with you, and then one day they blow up in your face, or they end up, showing you out in public. You don't want that. You want the person to be true and come to you righteously. You know what I'm saying? And so when you're watching it, there's a little hint of a smirk in that scene, just a little hint. But most of the time, that first little bit, he's not impressed.
Real, do they keep their teeth clean? Some of the men just aren't ready to be what I need in my life.
And then you're going to see Nyya as well come up on the screen. And her face, when it says, I was never intrigued with Edwin and Chris, you'll see that she stops laughing, right? Her face almost shows, I would even say it does. It shows concern. And then
says, I was never intrigued with Edwin. Chris, those were his feelings. And hopefully he gets some help for that.
Okay. Come back in here. To do what? No, my boyfriend meeting me in Atlanta, so.
And when I realized, okay, now you're watching it back, you yourself don't like what you did. And yet you said, no regrets. But yet when you're watching the video, you can tell you're not happy with that behavior. You can tell when you're watching it back, I don't agree with that. You can tell that when you're watching it back, you're like, oh, Nyya, is that you? All right. So now I believe there's a facade that gets put on. What's the facade? The facade is this. I don't care about what anyone else thinks. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I'm good. But really, in your deep down closet, you're not impressed. You're not impressed by you. Right? And you know that because also as well at the same time, the person next to you is the one that experiences the brunt of your frustration. I mean, isn't it scary for someone to think the way she displaced her frustration onto Chris and to Edwin? We know that the show you were at odds with. We know production and you weren't getting on the way you wanted to get on. But at that same point in time, why did Edwin and Chris get the brunt of, like, I don't like any of them, I was never liking any of them, etc., etc. Why go with that? You know what I'm saying?
My boyfriend meet me in Atlanta, so.
So you came on the show with
I came on the show with lots of potentials already in.
You know, when she said, obviously, my boyfriend's waiting for me in Atlanta. You know, Edwin actually looks over to Nyya, and he's got this questionable look. There's a small hint of a laugh, but it's more of a questionable look, like. And again, although they've spoken about it, it's still. You see how the memories, the body's still remembering, okay, of what it felt like. So when it's happening, even though Edwin has spoken about it,
Do they keep their teeth clean? Some of the men just aren't ready to be what I need in my life.
even though Edwin has spoken about it, yet he feels some type of way towards Nyya. It's still bringing up something, right? And so that questionable look is almost say like, yo, what the... And so when you see later on, this is why I said about conformity, when he begins to explain his point, he rationalizes her behavior. And we'll come on to that in a second, right? And so at the same time, another clip is later on as they're watching, Nyya sits up, very, very straight, upright, okay? No laughs here again. So it's not that funny.
I came on the show with lots of potentials already in store that already passed the test.
why did you come then?
It was not that funny when you're watching it back, and I think inwardly again she would have showed some sign of dissent towards that. Outwardly she'll show, I don't mind, I don't care, I said what I said, period, it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? But inwardly that's not what you're saying. I don't think you're really saying it is what it is, it's period. I think inwardly you'll think to yourself, okay, do you know what, I was entitled to do what I wanted to do, but this does look bad. Yeah, and that's all. Again, this is what I'm talking about. Honesty. That's all people ever want. You know, it's just the truth. You understand? Yeah, and so, you know, KG and Jay are looking on like, whoa, like what the, like, yo, they're shocked by the things that she's saying, by the revelation she's coming to, and again, as I said, why would a guy want to date someone who, when they're frustrated, take it out on other people who weren't actually involved? They weren't the cause of your frustration. KG wasn't the cause. Edwin wasn't the cause. Yet you've used them as a pawn to express your dissent, to explain that you don't care for them, whether you're bantering or not, right? And so when they explained about the exit, she says, I do not regret that exit.
You wish you would have handled this differently?
No way. I handled
The
it.
elimination part? I mean,
No.
What about you, Edwin? She said she wasn't into you.
You know, I honestly, I'm gonna tell you like this.
I do not. Which means it's only the exit that we're talking about, not the behavior towards KG earlier on or anything like that. This is specifically about the exit. All right? That exit where she spoke in the confessionals. And so, you know, I want to say this as well. When damage is done, sometimes it's done internally. Sometimes people are wounded internally by what you've done. You don't see it on the outside. They don't carry it on the outside. They don't tell you they're carrying it. But within themselves, they're carrying the internal bleeding. And eventually that internal bleeding does show itself outwardly. So if you don't address this issue and deal with it, and again, Edwin said obviously he's comfortable again, but I would say by the way that he responded to the videos, bro, it looked like it was taking you back somewhere. So that you have to be very careful with your words, you know, that the life and death is in the tongue. You must understand that, you know, you can bruise a lot of people and you don't always see bruises. You don't always see the bruises of people. Sometimes those bruises are so well hidden. They're covered by makeup that the person was put over it, so you don't actually see the pain you've inflicted. And because Edwin's not saying anything, she won't say anything. It's not a problem. But there was a point where she did look over to him, and as she looked over to him, he was not impressed, right? He didn't look like he was smiling. He didn't look like he was entertained at that moment. And so when they obviously ask him a question about the Nyya and him situation, he begins to rationalize her behavior. He says, when you're in that moment, sir, forget about the moment that you just got brought into a confessional.
I could only go based off of the energy that was going on at that moment. So her and I had this discussion even after it, and
The girl that you're saying you like just went on a confessional to say, I don't know him and I don't know Chris, right? And this is the second time. So she said that in the tavern, and then obviously said it on the confessional. So it's not nothing new. This is something that she's saying again and reiterating so that you know. Okay, but then he goes and say, oh no, this isn't her character, and she's playing this isn't her character, and you know, this is not her, that's truly her, right? And when you look at Tommy's face, you look at Tommy, how he's reacting to Edwin, he's like, what? Like,
going on at that moment. So
he can't believe Edwin's defending it. And the reason why is because Edwin's trying to rationalize their behavior. There's no need to. Call a spade, bro. It was out of order, and that's it. And we move forward. It was out of order. Whether you're frustrated or angry or not, it's out of order. Do you understand? But maybe he had that conversation behind the scenes with them dating and stuff, right? And so when he says, obviously, you know, it wasn't necessarily aimed towards me. So who was it aimed at, bro? When your name is mentioned, you're atted. You know what I'm saying? If someone ats me on Twitter and goes, well, it wasn't aimed for you. Who was it aimed for, bro? Who? Like, it's not even like an indirect. You said his actual name. You said Chris and Edwin.
the personality and the person that she is, even when it was said, I still know that it wasn't necessarily directed towards me. She could have said that all day long, but in the moment, I just know what we've shared. So
Both of them. And you said quite distinctively, I don't care for any, not even care, but, you know, I'm not involved in any of these two dudes. So where is the not necessarily? It is you.
still know that it wasn't necessarily directed towards me. She could have said that all day long, but in the moment, I just know.
See, that's the rationalization that's coming through at the moment. That's a self-defense mechanism that we do to make sense of very wild information on very wild situations. We rationalize it like, oh, there must be a real reason as to why this happened. Bro, there is a real reason. The girl, at the time when she said it, felt that way. And yeah, she may have said some things to embellish for the camera, but let me tell you something, that then speaks to the character and how they handle difficult situations. They blow up. You understand? So, you know, being not necessarily means not being totally sure. So if you're saying not necessarily it's not you, it wasn't aimed at you, so you didn't take it as you, I can rock with it. But at the end of the day, your name was mentioned, you was atted. And obviously when you had a conversation about it in the past, it obviously did touch you because you had a conversation about it in the past. You had a conversation about it in the past. Why? Because it was touching. You know? Keep it 100. But anyway, let me leave it there, and let me know down below in the comment section what you guys thought about the Edwin and the Nyya situation. Do you agree? Should you know, Edwin date Nyya? Is it well, he's already dated her. You know, but we want to know what do you guys think about the particular reunion? What was your thoughts? What was your feelings about it? Let us know downstairs in the comment section. We appreciate you. Stay locked and stay loaded.